All right, so good morning. I am about to do some work today. I'm bringing you along with me, another one of TWC projects. And in the last video, I think, you probably saw me doing a little bit of work with this, trying it out, trying to figure out what it needed and what kind of work I needed to do to it to get it in proper functioning order. It's pretty good now, but it definitely needs a few things. I've got a leaky hose that I discovered. In fact, I think this was all the way back. It's leaking somewhere up in here. I've got to fix a seal in here or a thread, so I'll work on that. And the oil was pretty black, so I'm going to change the oil, top off the hydraulic fluid after I fix the hydraulic fitting, top off the coolant. I think that was a little bit low, and finish trying to grease up. There's a lot more grease points that I've got to hit, and I have I'll show you something new I've got today. It's an electric grease gun. It's nothing super fancy, but it'll do the job, and it'll make life a little easier to keep this thing greased up all the time. And let's see what else. I also brought some replacement grease fittings in case some of those, I think I found a bad one last time. There might be more. The machine's old, so, but she's good, and we're going to make sure everything is kind of tuned up well enough that I can be using it. I was going to bring the pressure washer, and I kind of wish I did now. I forgot how bad I left this thing, how muddy it is, but it's all right. We'll keep gradually fixing it. Oh yeah, and one of the most important things that we're going to do today, I almost forgot. We're going to put a window in here. There's no window. I guess it blew out. I knew when I bought the thing, it just had a piece of plexiglass in there, and I guess it didn't make the journey down here. So I bought a piece of plexiglass here that we're going to mark up, cut to fit, and hopefully that'll go well. And then maybe if we have time, we'll do a little bit of work with it and make a little bit more progress. So anyway, I thank you for joining me today. Welcome to TWC Projects, and let's get started. All right, so one of the things that's difficult about coming out here to this off-grid property is if I don't remember to bring every single thing I need, every tool, anything, then it kind of ruins my day a little bit. So that's why I often have multiple things to do up here, because sometimes you just don't know when you're going to miss out on something. Now, I tried. I have like a toolbox with like a million tools and wrenches in it. And then I went through and grabbed all kinds of stuff, anything I could think of, sealers and pipe clamps and zip ties, and just anything I could think of I put in here. And over the last 2 weeks while I've been planning to come back up here, I've been constantly keeping lists and finding other stuff that I need and bringing it. I don't know why, but as soon as I started to do this, I marked out the inside, but then I need another 1/4 inch gap to fit up in the grooves. I don't have a straight edge. I don't even have a board to draw a straight line with it. So anyway, sometimes you just run into these things. That's a challenge for working over an hour from home and most hour from most anything where you could buy anything like that. So I don't know. Hopefully I've got a board kicking around on the ground out here somewhere. I'll scrounge around for it, and but being prepared and planning is a big part of doing this, because there's always bound to have something you've forgotten. So anyway, you saw I kind of stuck this up against, and I traced it from inside, and like I said, now I need to add another 1/4 inch to all of it, so that it will kind of pop up inside and stay up in the groove of the of where the glass is supposed to slide up in there. So, and I may at some point also probably need to put something, a little I don't know, some kind of metal strip or something on here to give it more rigidity so it doesn't, you know, it might pop out, we'll see, like it did before, but anyway, or like the old one did. So I'll keep going, but I just thought I'd share that with you. Yeah, it's just a challenge sometimes. All right, so I found the John Deere booklet thing. It seems like hopefully it's rigid enough that it will help me get a good line on there. All right, so my old trusty old camera just died on me, so I'm trying a new one that I've had as a backup just in case, and hopefully this records okay. I'm not sure if the other one properly recorded us cutting the rest of this, but anyway, I've got it in here, and as you can see, it's a little too tight, but that's good because it's easier to take off than it is to put on. But we can at least, ooh, maybe I can't do it that way. Let's see if we can see it better this way. I'll get it down closer. Yeah, I mainly wanted to see how this edge turned out over here. Oops. I wanted to see how this edge turned out, and it's looking pretty good. I think it's going to line up well. So we're going to just take some off the top, and hopefully that will be good enough. I might leave this extra on here, and then we'll peel all the film off of it so we can see. We're pretty close. I think we just need to take a bit off up there, that's all. Which is probably good because it'll you know, it was rough anyway because I was trying to use that Dremel type tool that didn't do a very smooth edge, whereas the scissors, I didn't think about using those tinning shears. They actually worked real well. So let's trim that off and give it another try. How about that? That'll work. Ugh. Let's go see how it looks from inside. I think we did all right with that. Step one, get the window in. So let's continue on and I think we'll do some of the fluids first before we'll do the oil last, just because the coolant, I want to make sure the thing is cool before I try to open that. So I'll do that first, and then after that, then we can start up the engine, then we'll let it warm up a little bit so we can get that oil nice and loose and drain that out and change that. So let's keep going. So one of the challenges and concerns that I'll have is the fact that I don't know exactly what fluids were in here, but I do know, reading through the manual on this, it's very clear about being careful to not mix different brands or whatever. And of course, I think they're partly wanted to sell their John Deere stuff, but I ended up making sure that I bought the John Deere brand coolant specifically for this. So hopefully that's as close to what they had in it. Same with the hydraulic fluid, although that I didn't get. The John Deere brand of hydraulic fluid was cheapest I found it was $133 for 5 gallons. This thing takes 17 and a half, And the a lot of places I found it for the was $165 for 5 gallons. So I didn't do that, but I got the ISO 46, which is basically what I understand is what that John Deere stuff is. So we're just going to take a chance on that. I bought it for $60 for 5 gallons instead of $160 for 5 gallons. So we'll see. It's, good quality, heavy duty tractor hydraulic fluid, ISO 46. So hopefully it's a good match, and that's what we're going to do with that. The oil was pretty straightforward. Of course, I'm going to change that and the filter. So I was able to buy the filter, which is a John Deere filter as well, just to make sure. So we've got our window in now, which was, I think, $31 for that piece of plastic, for that piece of plexiglass. And I guess I should have shown you what it really was. It was regular plexiglass for that size was about $50 or $60, but this was plenty thick enough and strong enough. It was actually just a pre-made hanging thing, and I cut it up to make it into a window. So that worked out really well. I'm very pleased with how that turned out. And so now we're going to get moving on to the next thing, which is seeing if we can fix the leak in that hydraulic hose, that seal. I think it's just the threads on it are leaking a bit. So I don't know if I'm going to use Teflon tape or use some sealer that I brought. I haven't decided yet, but I'll figure out when I get it off. So let's do that next. All right, so I've got this stuff called Thread Locker Orange, high strength, I don't know if you can read that or not, but high strength removable. And then I also have, of course, Permalock, which I wouldn't use for this, but that's for, put certain bolts of threads. And the one on the bottom, let's see if I can get it out. This one's just called Thread Sealant, high temperature. Yeah, so I think we're going to try this one today. We'll see. I also have some Teflon tape in here, but I don't know about using Teflon tape on this. I feel like this stuff eats away at Teflon pretty easy. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. So there is a rubber gasket on here, and it may be that all I needed to do probably was just tighten that down more, because it was pretty loose. But while I've got it off, I'm going to go ahead and put this thread sealant on here and hope that it helps a little bit. All right, it's good and tight. Hopefully I don't think I over tightened it. We'll go ahead and start her up at some point here, but we're going to go through the rest of the stuff right now. Let me see, I'll walk you around a little bit more too and show you what else is going on here. We've got a whole bunch of grease points that I don't think I hit last time I started some of them, and I wasn't sure. So I'll probably hit them again. Plus, last time I had brought that amber grease. Here's another fitting there too. I got to clean all these up. There was I used that amber grease, and now I have, which is what I use with tractors, a little more lightweight. So I got the heavy duty stuff, I think is what you're supposed to use for this. So that was part of the reason I decided not to go ahead and try to do everything last time. So we'll do that today. All right, so I finished up the grease work. And there were a lot of fittings. I just eventually stopped recording. It was just so many, but I need to probably go back and count how many there are and all. A lot of them were just crudded up. I had to clean them all out so I could get to them and find them. But anyway, this grease gun worked real well. This was it's just a fairly inexpensive one from Tractor Supply. You know, put your grease tube in here. You got a battery on the bottom, a second backup battery, and a charger in the kit. And you know, that's really all there is to it. I think there was a bleeder screw on the top that I had to figure out that to initially get the grease coming out. But that's it. I think it's just, it was probably a little over $100 at Tractor Supply. I think it's going to work fine for what I need. Obviously, I've got to be greasing this thing quite a lot. As I use it a lot, I should say. There's a lot of grease fittings to fill on it. So I think all we have left now is to change the oil. And so I'm going to break first and eat some lunch, and then I think from there I'll run the excavator for 8 or 10 minutes, if that, something like that, just enough to get the engine real warm and the oil flowing, and then we'll do that. And I think we might have time. So it's a little after 1 now, so we might have some time to do some work with it today too. So that worked out all right. I'm pleased. I wasn't sure how long it would take, but I wanted to make sure I got all the most critical maintenance on it done, and I think this thing it's running well. And so let's do that. I'm going to break for lunch, and then we'll get back to this in a few minutes. All right, so a tool I find myself using all the time, I guess I really shouldn't call it a tool, but is a silver Sharpie. I'm always writing on things with it, so I know what's what. I wrote on there that this was the oil for the excavator, because I have oil for all kinds of equipment. And then I wrote on that is dirty old oil, so that's where I'm gonna dump my dirty oil into. So I just ran this for a little bit, and it's good and warm. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the drain plug, drain it, and swap out the oil filter and put in fresh oil. All right, so this oil is pretty black. And I'll show you what it should look like in a second here. These, I've talked about these terry cloths before. I'm amazed that I just keep using them. I think, man, they've got to be saturated by now. And then they just take more and more. I don't know how they absorb so much, but I like it. All right, so this is 15W40 heavy duty diesel engine oil, and this is 2.5 gallons, which is about what I think this motor takes. I'll have to double check, but I know it's over 2 gallons. Alright, let's get a little fresh oil on that. That's the color the oil's supposed to be. Nice and clear, not black. Make sure our ring is cleared off here too. Oh, and you'll notice I wrote the hours on the filter before I put it in there, because it's kind of hard to get in, reach in there and do that. But and then of course just hand tighten it. There we go. Now, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Doesn't feel right. It's almost going downhill. But there's no other place to put it in. I wish I had one of those flexible spouts. Maybe if I close a little bit. There we go. Oh, it's not going to quite fit there either. How about there? We're going to make that work. I don't know if you can see that or not. I just kind of propped it in there, but at least it gets us going the right way. All right, it says it's full right now. So, of course, we got to run it for a little bit and let the filter fill up, and then we'll be able to add some more. At some point, I've got to go back through, and there's a lot more places that I need to change. There's other filters, inline filters, and there's fluid in the track system as well that has to be drained and replaced. So there's a lot of maintenance still to come on this thing, but I felt like this was the critical stuff that I felt like was most important right now. Obviously, you don't want your coolant low. The oil was just horrendous, as you saw, and the hydraulic fluid, you can't have that low either. So it could be a little low, but only just so low. So I think that'll wrap up the general maintenance part. Of course, we greased everything, we fixed the window, tried to tighten a few things up here and there too as I found them, but I'm eager to get running the machine and using it right now. So I'm going to clean up my mess and then see if we can do a little bit of work before we wrap this video up. All right, so this came in really handy. I used a lot of things from here today, silver Sharpie especially, but of course other things I had to back up. I've pulled oil filters off with this before. It's a strap style ratcheting strap, I guess, or not ratcheting strap, but you use a half-inch ratchet with that to keep tightening it or loosening it to take your oil filter off and put it on. Of course, I got tape measure, spare oil, spare grease fittings down here, spare towel, latex gloves, zip ties, Velcro, hose clamps. I already showed you all this stuff. A few extra parts. These are just kind of for getting it into odd, difficult places, or adapters up and down. And then a lot of the various tools that I don't have in this toolbox. And this toolbox has all kinds of things in it, but this is the first time I've used this one. So it's got all your deep sockets. It goes up to a pretty big size. It's a 1.5 inch right there, a 27-inch socket. And then you get smaller sockets. Oops. There you go. And wrenches. And socket drivers, I guess, and all your different types of tips, hex tips and a driver. So this is a pretty nice rig to, when you're working remotely like this and you need all your tools with you. instead of, you know, I have a giant tool chest with most of this stuff in it, but I finally went and bought this at Northern Tools to have a much better the clutch set, and look forward to using that a lot more, especially up here at Bear Ridge when I need to do mechanical work on mostly the excavator, probably sometimes the tractor. I had some problems with the tractor when I was up here before. That's why I took it back to the house, because I just didn't have the tools here to do it. So I've gotten more organized now, and this box is part of this is a Harbor Freight product, the Bauer product, I guess. This is kind of neat because they make a whole set of like a rolling chest one, and several different ones that all stack. And they have these little locking things that allow them to lock into place, to lock into each other. So this is the only one I have so far, but I thought I would try it out. It's actually really well made, and I noticed too, around the edge here, there's a nice rubber seal. So I believe this thing's fairly watertight, water resistant for sure. So nice heavy duty locks on it, and it's a really durable, hardcore heavy duty plastic. So that was worked out well today. Of course, I had the oil filter, John Deere oil filter, John Deere coolant, but I used Tractor Supply ISO 46 hydraulic fluid, and Mobil, where is it? Mobil Delvac, the diesel, super heavy duty 15W40 oil for the motor. So more to come on this, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to do a little work with it right now, and I'll wrap up the video. So I'll just wrap the video up right now, and then if you want to keep watching, you can watch me do a little bit of work with the excavator. I'll leave it on towards the end. So as always, I really appreciate you coming along as I fix things, create things, enjoy God's amazing creation outside. Thank you certainly for watching, and I appreciate those too, that if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when new ones come along, share with a friend, and just keep getting outside and being productive and enjoying working with your hands. And thank you for coming along as I do all these different projects. So until next time, have a fantastic week, and I will see you on the next project.